So very excited to welcome back our next guest to the podcast. We had him on just before the Beijing Olympics, where he was set to create history as Australia's first ever triple Olympian in the sport of luge. He did that, and he did all right in Beijing, created further history by having the highest ever finish of 16th place by an Australian luger at those games. And since then, he's done all right as well. He has achieved multiple high positions in World Cups and World Championships, including a 5th place at the 2024 World Luge Championships, the highest ever finish by an Australian luge athlete in any international competition. I'm so excited to learn about everything that's happened since we've last had him on the show and his journey towards a 4th Olympics next year. Pleasure to welcome back Alex Ferlazzo. Alex, welcome back to Off the Podium.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Ben.
It's exciting is the word. The calm word I want to say, because luge is an amazing sport. We talked about that with you last time, and it just seems that you're finding even more amazing results every single time you go out there and compete. Alex, I've got to start with the blanket question. What's in the water? What have you been drinking? What have you been doing since we last speak to all of a sudden just find all this form that you're in at the moment?
Mainly just maturing as an athlete. I've learned how to race over the last 4 or 5 years, and I'm starting to, be able to put together 2 runs down the hill in competitions, and that's a huge part of the sport. It's combined time, so if you can't put 2 together, it doesn't mean anything.
I loved in our last chat, you explained luge as a sport of mistakes, that you've got to sort of overcome those, and that's how you sort of refine it, being so technical and everything along those lines. So on what you were saying, is that also a case of refining that where you're not making those mistakes anymore? The sport of mistakes is something that obviously you're kind of trying to, I guess, get over those little bits that you make you a better slider down the track.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's still mistakes down the hill, but I feel like there are less mistakes these days. I'm definitely able to fix the mistakes faster than I've ever been able to do before. And yeah, just keep it pointed down the same, keep it pointed down the hill the whole way has been a major part of my success over the last 3-4 years.
Is it a sport that you get better the older you get as well? Because I'm thinking a hero of yours, Armin Zogler, who obviously went, 6 Olympics. The guy was still winning medals when he was well into his 40s. I mean, is this a sport that generally does help the older you get as well?
Yeah, for a number of reasons. The first one being the longer you're around, the more time you get to spend on all the tracks. So, and that's another thing that's changed major for me over since last Olympics is I've found myself not having to learn tracks as much. It's more of just pushing my speed down the track, learning how to race on them and find faster lines and not be so, caught up in what do I have to do in that corner? How do I piece these 2 sections together? I know what to do. And now it's just like the few last percent to really maximize the speed on the way down.
We recently did a bit of a preview on luge in one of our news episodes, and we were talking about Armin and the fact that he is surely a shoe-in to light the cauldron in Milano Cortina next year, right? Like if you're thinking great Italian winter athletes and you want to sort of put a bookie's favourite on who's going to light that cauldron, surely Armin's at least entering that stadium in San Siro with some level of flame in a couple of months.
Yeah, he's got to be. Like, what a incredible athlete, right? Like 6 Olympics, 6 medals.
Yeah.
No one is ever consistent as he was. And he's still to this day, like one of the most phenomenal luge athletes there has ever been. It's just, I'll have to go back and watch some of his videos leading up to this season, actually, to get some inspiration. He was a solid man down the hill.
He's one of those ones that transcends the sport too, because I remember growing up in Australia where, obviously luge isn't exactly a sport that many people talk about. But when Australians have heard of Armin Zogler, he's a big deal in a sport where obviously, as you would be aware of, it doesn't get a lot of attention in our country.
Yeah, that's right. He's made a name for himself just outside of the luge community too. I mean, going to 6 Olympics is a big deal, but medaling at 6 is just insane, I think, in any sport. And in a sport of luge, having to be so consistent in all your runs and all your races and piecing together that many runs is phenomenal.
Speaking of Olympics, let's go back to Beijing. We spoke to you just ahead of those games. We were talking about going to a third Olympics and everything that you're hoping to achieve there. You end up leaving there 16th place, as I said. But before we sort of get to the overall performance, do you sort of remember going into that, how you were feeling and sort of the levels of that? And had you set yourself sort of this goal of, had you set yourself a goal for those games to come out of?
It was an interesting lead up to those games. It started off in the COVID year, actually, where I couldn't head overseas to slide. So I had to find ways to better myself as an athlete and at home in Australia. And, it was hard watching other teams and athletes train overseas during that COVID year, but I really made the most of that off time. Just with a lot of mental work, I taught myself how to be more present and did a lot of imagery work, and watching it from a distance made me realize how much I wanted it and what needed to be done in those for the Olympic season. And then leading into the sliding again was a bit of a shock to the system, but I think all that mental work I did really prepared me for the stress of getting back on a sled after so long. Like for instance, I felt like I came back to the sport a better athlete than I was beforehand without sliding for 16 months or so. It was incredible, just from the imagery work and the bringing myself back to the present moment. I was able to take that practice into the luge world, and it helped so much. Like the first memory, I wanted to kind of study the other athletes of where they're at mentally before their competition runs. And it was actually the test event in Beijing for probably 5 months before the Olympics. Well, it's probably 3-4 months before the Olympics. And I didn't do so great, but I was in a really good state of mind, and I was able to stand up at the start with a view of the athletes that were coming up next. And I remember just watching them get on the ice and, just looking at their face and trying to understand of what mindset they were in before they pulled off the handles. And I think that taught me a lot about, everyone dealing with the pressure a different way, and there's no right or wrong way, but just being present in whatever way it is just so important. And that was such a huge stepping stone in my career. And for the whole season leading up to the Olympics, there was, it was still like sort of COVID games season. There's a lot of difficult times along that season that I had to deal with, and I was able to, I feel, be in a better mind headspace than a lot of other athletes. And I kind of started to see it as a advantage leading for all competitions. I was just able to stay so positive and stay present and not get too overwhelmed with the scenario, and started to see it really translate onto the track as well. And then, the season just kept getting better and better. And I was also like, the team around me, the Americans, are so fun to slide with, and we're all kind of staying really optimistic the whole time. And then leading into the Olympics, those games were strange. We got kicked out on the second day because of COVID reasons, and China and the mask and everything going on. But the runs themselves were pretty decent. I liked my first run, but still wasn't like fully comfortable. And then the second run was like super cold, and luckily everyone made some pretty major mistakes except for like maybe 4 people. And then the last day, my 2 final runs, the third run was okay. Got me into the finals for the last run of the Olympics. And
that's top
I think
20, right? You got to get to the top 20 to get into that final run. Yep.
Yeah, there's always a bit of nerves. Like, you don't know if you're going to make that top 20 run. If something happens, you could lose out. And I watched a few teammates, well, not teammates, but other friends on luge circuit crash out on their third runs. And that can send some stress through your bones for sure. And then my last run it was a phenomenal feeling. I felt like before the run started, I was so calm and focused, but just so full of energy, and nothing could phase me. It's like I knew it was going to be a phenomenal run before I even pulled off the handles. And it was like, that run was something I wish I could bottle up and keep forever. But it just goes to show all that mental prep work I did during the COVID year and being able to keep up that mindset throughout the entire season, how huge that is. And that's kind of where I've focused my energy into the last 3 years, and will focus my energy for the next 5 months leading up to the Olympics.
That last run you touch on, you were 12th on that last run, and you finished that on that final one, and you finished ahead of the 2018 champion, David Glerscher, who you actually only finished just behind as well in the standings overall. He was 15th, you were 16th, so not a bad result. And I love the quote that you had in an interview after that where you just said, I'm on top of the world. And this is what, like day 3, if I'm not mistaken, day 2. So this was very much at the beginning of those Olympics. And I vividly remember I was working for Channel 7 at the time doing research, and just how happy everybody was. And in Australia, I think that was just about nearly when I think Chikara won the medal. Was that the same day or around about then as well? Like, it was very sort of around that, wasn't it? So we were buzzing already after only a couple of days, but you were like the happiest man on the team, I think. But, prior to anybody winning any medals, it was a great mood at that moment.
Yeah, it was phenomenal, man. I come up the outrun. I wasn't sure. I knew the run was good. I just wasn't sure what the time was going to be. And the time was like 2/10 faster than any of my runs before. And I let out quite a cheer after that run. And, I got a few funny comments like, it's a big cheer for 16th place. But for just like the season we went through in the 2 years prior, man, it felt right for sure to be that proud of that achievement in that time. And yeah, I hold on to that moment quite dearly.
This is what we love about the Olympics on so many levels, is that, some people might comment, oh, that's a lot of cheers for a 16th place. But I love it when you can see an athlete who is celebrating something like that. Like, because as you were saying, the achievements, everything you've overcome. And let's be honest, at that point, I mean, obviously Beijing was pretty good for our sliding athletes overall. But, at that point, to have an athlete in the top 20 of a sliding sport for Australia, not taking away from Jackie, from Bree and everything else that was achieved later on, but that's still a pretty bloody big deal from a sport where we're not even with a bull's roar of a course and everything that we've got to overcome to get into that sport. So I love seeing just that level of excitement that you had. And I mean, were you getting many messages back from people at home, and sort of like, what was that reaction like from family, friends back home? Because obviously nobody could travel with you this time around to kind of see you in person.
It was super heartwarming. It was just the entire rest of the Olympics was incredible for me. I actually quite enjoyed going home after the event. I think I had one more night. Like, I left the day after my event, and they flew us back to Australia. And it was strange because I've been to 2 Olympics before that, and I spent the entire Olympics there at the village watching other competition and kind of getting involved in the whole, Olympic buzz. But actually being able to step back and seeing it from Australia's point of view at home, like in North Queensland in the middle of summer, watching, athletes that I just saw in the village compete a few days later was pretty special. And it was relaxing, and it felt right at that time. I really enjoyed it.
And what is it like? Because obviously, I think all sliding sports are close, but I realize that, bobsled and skeleton are kind of together and luge is kind of separate. But I can't imagine you're still not close with the bobsleigh team, the skeleton team, given the nature of the sport in Australia. So I guess when you're watching what Jackie did a week later, then obviously seeing Bree do so well in the monobob, and then with Kiara, like, I mean, are you just in the loudest cheer in all of far North Queensland at that point when you're seeing those achievements throughout the games?
Oh yeah. I was locked in. It was so cool seeing everyone in the village beforehand and seeing what headspace they were in, and having the weight of my competition off my shoulders. I was able to just sit back and really take it all in. It was so cool to watch Bree and and Jackie get that silver. That was incredible.
We had Jackie on, and one question I asked her at the time was, did this all of a sudden get a bunch of people into skeleton, seeing this silver medal more attention? And she sort of said, well, no, not really. It hasn't actually. When we had you last on, you sort of talked about how you've basically been the only Australian male luge athlete for about 8 years in Australia. I mean, we're talking 4 years later on now, Alex. Have we got more luge athletes in Australia? Are you still the only one, or are we still finding some people coming into the sport now?
I'm probably the only one. I'm the only one at the moment for sure. But there's a few little potential athletes coming up the pipeline, and obviously I'd love if Australia had a bit more of a federation behind luge, but it's such a strange sport and it's so out of the way. And if you don't get started early, then it's almost impossible to slide unless you've started as like a teenager. But we got a little prospect coming up, and he seems like a keen slider and a bit of an athlete, so should be interesting years to come.
Again, I know different sports, but I'm just saying, like, let's steal some of the bobsledders because they just seem to be good at stealing people from other sports, right? And they've got these like camps and everything. So I kind of see it almost like how the freestyle skiing team always steal the gymnasts. Can we just have like the luge people steal the bobsled people? Maybe it's the same track, different sports. I know, but like we can work something out surely.
Well, interesting you say that, because of other nations and how they recruit with all sliding sports is a lot of them start off in luge actually as like teenagers and even younger, like 10, 12-year-olds.
Wow.
And that's where they learn the sliding and how to steer and understand the corners and stuff like that. And then they get recruited from bobsled or skeleton from there. And then the luge athletes will stay in their own course. So really, it should go the other way around. We just got to build up the luge federation first. So.
Yes, that could help. Let's get it working, I think. And as I always say at this point when we're talking about this and helping winter sports out in Australia, Brisbane 2032 is a Winter Olympics technically, Alex. So therefore, I feel this should be blended in. As I'm trying to get a track built for that, for the bobsled, luge, and skeleton. So like, let's add luge in there, of course, and try and get that working. Your home state as well in 7 years, that would work. Yeah,
that's a good point. I haven't thought of that. Yeah, it's a Winter Olympics. I'm gonna have to start selling that angle of it. That's hilarious.
Yeah, I mean it is a Winter Olympics in Australia, so therefore it should be sold that way. I think. Once Beijing was done, was it always the prospect of I'm still going now? Or this is fourth Olympics is on the cards, and then kind of obviously pushing to what we'll talk about in a second with everything you've achieved since then, or was it a case of let's take a bit of time off? Because I know that's the question Olympians hate being asked straight after an Olympics. Are you going to the next Olympics? Well, I can ask you that now because we're only a couple of months away from the next one, so I'm safe there.
Yeah, it was no, I'm pretty sure I jumped. I was so keen after those games. I knew I had more in me, and that break during COVID really just ignited the fire even more, to be honest. So it was straight back to work. I changed up a few things though. I headed over and started training with the Canadians for the last 3 years. I've just recently joined the American program again, so they've taken me under their wing, and so yeah, it's been quite a lot going on in my little luge world regarding team changes and trying to work out the best scenario for me, and also the teams I train with is so important. Yeah.
How do you approach that when it comes to choosing a team or wanting to train with a team? So like you were with America before Beijing, you're saying you go to Canada, and you're back to America. So like, what do? You just get and tap someone on the shoulder at a camp, go, hey, Canada, these Americans are pissing me off. Can I join you? And then after a while, hey, Canada, let's go back to America. Like, I mean, is it that simple, or is it a bit more friendlier than that?
It's friendlier and a little more complicated. My sled builder was a Canadian coach, and he was building for the Canadians after the last Olympics, and they asked me to come over there to slide on his equipment still, and I thought, yeah, why not? Let's keep that up. I enjoy sliding on your equipment, and I still am sliding on partly his equipment leading into these Olympics, but I found I just sort of outgrew the team. I don't know. It's a very young team with the Canadians, and I know leading into the Olympics, I wanted to have teammates that will push me the way I need to be pushed. And and the Americans are a bunch of athletes, very similar age to me. I've been sliding them forever. They're friends on circuit, and that's where I want to be leading into the Olympic year. So it was last year was a bit of a stressful year trying to just decide all that, but I'm really happy with the way it's turned out now.
Is it also a cultural aspect? Because I know we talked to Brie about this, that you would think that if you want to be with the best, you're going to automatically go to the Germans, the Italians, the Austrians, these type of people. And Brie mentioned that she'd worked with Germans, and while they're good coaches, it's obviously a bit more of a cultural aspect, whereas now she's working with Canadians, and Australians and Canadians are much more similar than, say, Australians and Germans. So does that also help the sort of something as that, rather than just going straight to the Germans because they're going to bloody win everything anyway?
The biggest thing for me was because I used to slide with the Latvians many seasons ago.
They're quite good.
And yeah, very good. But the issue was the language barrier.
Of course.
And being away, being with a team for 6 months of the year and having that language barrier made things pretty difficult outside of sport, right? It really doesn't sit right with your mental health. So choosing a team with English
that generally helps.
Is the major thing. And that really only leaves for me like the Canadians and Americans, right? So and honestly, I kind of like the bit of the underdog sort of thing. We could go straight to the Austrians or Germany, but then I'd have to learn how to speak German. And I've there's a lot more to the sport than just like getting down the hill. I really like the sled tech race as well, and getting super technical about it and trying different things. And when you can work closely with a coach with that, it makes the whole time just way more enjoyable. And it's always nice to strive for faster runs in more ways than just sliding as well. It brings it all together, makes the whole thing just more fun.
And you base yourself then, so you're in New York, so I'm guessing like Placid at the moment. And so prior to that with Canada, were you based in Whistler, I'm assuming, sort of around that area, or is it somewhere else?
I was based in Calgary, but we'd spend all our time sliding in Whistler with the Canadians. But yeah, now I'm with the US. I'm based in Lake Placid, just pulling starts for 3 weeks, and then I'll be home for roughly a month before I head over for the season back here to pack up the sleds, do some more starts, and then off we go.
Between Beijing and where we're about to get to with that, I mean, I touched on a little bit in the introduction, some of the achievements. I mean, your World Cup form has been outstanding. One I wanted to pinpoint, Pyeongchang, 9th. And you said in our last interview that it was a goal of yours to be able to go back and get redemption for that Pyeongchang track.
Did I really?
You said that you weren't too impressed with what happened in 2018, so it was a goal of yours. So when I saw you achieve that result, I'm like, there it is. He got it. So was that a little bit extra special to go back to the Olympic track and get that achievement then in Pyeongchang?
Yeah, that makes me pretty happy. That's nice to know. Very good. Nice research there. That's a lot of fun.
It pays to re-listen to my interviews every now and then, so
Yeah. Going back there last year was interesting. No one had been there since the Olympics, right?
Wow.
So
yeah.
It was like I was one of maybe 10, 15 athletes that had been there before. A lot of them were new athletes coming up. And I picked it up pretty quickly. That's not true. I had a lot of trouble out of corner 9 leading up into the race. And then I remember after the last training run, I was like, no, I'm not going back to the hotel now. I need to go look at this, look at some sleds go through. And I remember jumping in the track, which wasn't allowed, and just kind of like really trying to figure out where I was, because they had shade cloths on corner 8, and that's a really important corner to set up into 9. And I couldn't figure out where I was in the curve. And I was just walking through there trying to just like really soak up as much of the the area as I could before I shoot through there at 110, 120 Ks an hour. And for the rest of my race runs, I got through corner 9 cleanly, which was pretty awesome. Yeah, I was super happy with my result in the World Cup. And then I also won the North Pacific Championship as well over my American teammates, actually, that race. So
how did they react to that? How did they react to being beaten by an Aussie?
I think they're starting to get more used to it now.
That's when all of a sudden they're just like, oh no, he's American, he's part of our team, right? So that
Yeah.
technically makes him one of that. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
a bigger achievement too, and not to take away, that's a massive achievement, but 2024 Germany World Championships,
Mm.
fifth place at a World Championships, Alex. I mean,
Mhm.
even hearing that out loud more than a year later, has it still sunk in that you were able to achieve that?
Yeah, not really. Hey, that was a special race. I remember the season prior, I Altenburg was my least favorite track for the longest time, and then hearing the season before those world champs, I that it was going to be in Altenburg. I just like kind of flicked a switch. I'm like, okay, no, we need to learn to like this track. I can't just go bitching about it every time we go there. It's time to relight the flame with this track. And we spent a lot of time there, and it took a long time to build the courage to get out of Krasl the way I wanted and learn to loop that bottom section of the track up cleanly. And those world champs were just incredible in so many ways. It was such a roller coaster of track, deg, and some super fast ice as well. I burnt a hole through my glove, like to the bone, like 3-degree burns in my hand, and one training run about a week earlier, and it was a tough lead up, and then the race was actually like my family and, well, now fiance came in like 2 days prior, and I saw them, and they kind of sensed how not down I was, but I was just kind of like, I was worn out. That whole 2 weeks of training had worn me down. And yeah, on the race, I was like, well, they've come a long way. Let's just give it the best we've got, and see what happens. And it was very similar to that Olympic story I told you in Beijing, where I just kind of knew it was going to be good. I was able to really stay present, and man, I put down some clean runs that race. It was a super cool performance.
When you've only got 54 seconds to do that, and you talk about knowing that it's going to be a good run, I mean, can you even establish that like halfway through? Like, you're obviously focused on everything that you're trying to do to make that run better, but like, are you still such in a mentally good place when you're in such a short amount of time that you're just feeling it? It's a vibe, so that when you cross that line and look up and see the time, you know that you're going to see a good time.
Yeah, yeah, you do. It's you're definitely feeling your way down the track when things are going that well. You're not really trying to look for things or like oversteer anything. I'm just kind of like flowing with it, and there's no, yeah, there's no sharp steers or anything. It just kind of all flows into each other, and there's no sections of the tracks either. I kind of just feel it all kind of blend together, and yeah, there's just nothing getting in the way. It's a great feeling.
In terms of then seeing that progression, you talked about that at the beginning, about sort of from there to where we are now, 16th in Olympics, 5th at a World Championships, you're getting top 10s in World Cups. You're always in the top 20 now of the World Cups, it seems, and just how well you are. Like, medals realistically look like this could be a possibility for you. Does that what you strive? I mean, it's a stupid question. Of course you strive for it. I understand that as an athlete. But like, if I'm talking to you now, which I am, ahead of an Olympic Games, is this now you can realistically say, I am going into Milano Cortina next year looking at trying to get Australia's first ever luge medal?
Yes, yes, definitely. It's been such a gradual, good, healthy progression since the last Olympics, and I feel like I'm really like peaking in a lot of ways. My mental health leading into the season, I know how to deal with that side of it now. My sled is looking, well, hopefully it's being built at the moment. We're going to be cutting it close, but it should be at a place where I'm not going to have faster equipment. And my starts are looking great as well. I'm 30 years old now, and I'm pulling the fastest starts I've ever pulled. My body feels incredible. I feel like a 20-year-old. And my knowledge of the sport and team around me everything's lining up the way I want it to. And all I have to do now is stay present, take each day as it comes, put 100% into everything I do, and we'll see what happens.
Do you also find it that maybe, back in Beijing, let's go back to Pyeongchang and Sochi, that maybe it was a bit more of a, people are looking at you going like, oh, that's just the Australian, we don't have to worry about him, oh, well, great that we've got a country like Australia in this sport. Now it's a case of people know who you are, people know what you're capable of, people are maybe a little bit, wary of what you can achieve. And is that something that you thrive on, that maybe people are taking you a lot more seriously than they probably did 10 years ago when you were in the sport, very young, of course?
I mean, a little bit, not really. I've always been my own biggest fan in that way, taking myself seriously, not let too many other people dictate of how I think of myself as an athlete. But yeah, a major part of my progression was the support from the OWIA leading up after those games. They really just helped me out with a lot of things, and a huge one of the main things really that I took away from that partnership was the what do you call it, the belief they had in me to put that effort and those resources into me, and trust me to go out and do the best I can is motivating in itself. It's you definitely need a team behind you, and I've worked without a team for so long, but I've been pretty good at like building my own little teams wherever I go, and yeah, that's having them behind me in Australia is a major help.
In terms of the schedule, I mean, luge is always at the beginning, isn't it? So this is sort of the first sliding sport. Do you like that? Do you sort of like just, being able to get out there, get it over and done with, rather than say maybe the bobsled athletes have to sit around and wait kind of like a week and a half before they do that, so that, once your competition's done and you can celebrate with your medal, of course, that you can then maybe just chill and relax and go watch some sports, go cheer on the team, some things you couldn't do obviously in Beijing and haven't done since 2018?
Yeah, definitely. I like it. I like to be done on the second day. That's fantastic. The only downside though is that we compete the day after the opening ceremony. So I probably won't be going to the opening ceremony for that reason. I didn't go in China either, and so that's
quite
that's
far
the only
away,
downside.
isn't it? Too, like the track's a little bit far
It's
away
pretty far
from
away, and
yeah.
it's always a really late night, and that sleep is pretty important around those times.
Yeah.
So,
when you go to your fifth Olympics in France, and you've won the gold, or maybe you can take the risk. Yeah. It's going to be like an interesting sort of way of the way it's spread out. I mean, I know when I was looking at my tickets and kind of like, oh, I'll do a first week in Milan, second week in Cortina. That will be easy. My second week has not been easy in terms of trying to get around, but we've sorted it at least. I sadly missed luge, Alex, but I do get to see bobsleigh, so I get to see the track. So I'm excited to actually to see that at least. But going back a bit, you touched on sort of where you are now and obviously what's to come. So we're recording this in August. So you're in New York right now, go back home to Australia. And then when does the season start? And are you already qualified, or are there things that you need to do to sign, seal, deliver that fourth Olympic ticket?
No, I'm not qualified technically yet. I have, it'd be a shocker if I didn't qualify, being the only athlete from Australia.
This young kid all of a sudden comes up out of nowhere to be an enigma.
But we have actually, so we get on ice on the 8th of October, and we'll be in Norway, Sigulda. That'll be our first ice, and then we go to Cortina that'll be my first look at the track actually in Cortina. And then we got a few weeks in a few other locations, Oberhof and Eagles, and then back to Cortina for a test event. So 2 trips into Cortina a month apart before the World Cup season begins in Eagles, and that'll take us to the 1st of September. Then we got Eagles, Park City, and Lake Placid. These will be the 3 qualification races for the Olympics. And then Christmas break. And then we got 4 World Cups before the Olympics, and they will be all seeded races too. So they're important races in themselves.
Wow. And what was the last World Cup? How close is that to the Olympics?
Oh, what do we got? We got finish racing on the 25th of Jan, and
wow.
on the 8th or 7th and 8th of Feb.
Always stresses me out how close winter athletes have to wait. Like it just blows my mind. Summer athletes have it easy, right? They get qualified how far away from the games, but winter athletes, that's incredible.
It's a real shame. We were supposed to go to Koningse for our last race before the Olympics, which hasn't been slid since the landslide there. And now that's being cancelled. I guess they had some delays in the construction, but we've got 2 weeks in Oberhof before the Olympics. And I think we're actually going for a few days of sliding in Eagles before we head to Cortina for the Olympics.
Okay. Is it one thing actually, you are one of only a few luge athletes I've ever had on the show, Alex, and we had a couple of bobsledders on recently and they talked about, say, like, they're only able to get a certain amount of runs in, obviously, on a track because, they've got to get a sled up and down the track and all the kind of technicalities around that. Is it easier for a luge? I mean, you've got a much smaller thing to get up to the top of the track, I'm guessing. So are you able to get a lot more runs in sort of when you've got a training day than the bobsledders would?
I'm not sure if we get more runs. There's a lot more of us going down the track in general. So I'd see us getting 3 runs a day, sort of thing.
It's about the same as I think we were told by the bobsledders. So yeah, okay, that tracks.
Yeah,
interesting.
But it's definitely a lot easier to transport the sled up and down the hill. We just jump in a car with the sled and go pick up.
There you go.
Nice, yeah.
Talking of the track in Cortina, as you said, you haven't been there yet. We know some of the challenges they've had around beating it, but what you've seen, heard, kind of like, what are your expectations? What are you kind of thinking of what you're expecting for this track for the Olympics?
Well, location, first of all, is going to be incredible. Right there in Cortina. I actually went there after the last Olympics in the summertime for a bit of a holiday and checked it out. And that place is just insane in itself. And the track itself, from the POV videos I've seen and some other like data collection stuff, just like, the gradients and G-force in the corners or whatever, has been, it looks like it's fairly, it's not fast, it's not slow. It's got some big corners down the bottom. It's pretty flat up top. So a big start's going to be super important. And then I think it's going to be a big aerodynamic track. So keeping those toes pointed and head back is going to be important. And it could be a bit of a tech race too, which is a little unfortunate, but you never know. We might be in a good position tech-wise leading up to the games.
It's always exciting, though, I can imagine, for someone like yourself when there is a new track, given that there are so little of these tracks in the world, right? So whenever you've got an opportunity to race on a new one, it must add a bit of extra excitement to it.
Yeah, definitely. I really love learning new tracks. I feel like I'm pretty good at it. I pick it up super quick. And I mean, I know a lot of us with POV videos coming out now, everyone will know which way the corners go, at least leading up to their first runs. But you really can't tell what a track's going to be like until you slide it yourself. There's been surprises last 2 games where the homologation athletes have come back with information. A lot of it was like, it's pretty easy. I wouldn't worry too much about it. And then we go into the track and it's like super difficult. Like in Korea, it was curve 9. In China, I don't know if they completely lied to us or the ice was built differently, but that track was difficult as well. So you never know. From what I've seen, it looks relatively easy, and it's kind of a you got to really find your speed on the way down. So that's gelling into pressures and really minimizing little steers that you need to do. And that's something I enjoy. And that's like the essence of luge, really. At the end of the day, if you can, that's why it's time to 1,000th of a second, those little things,
And is it also a case of the Italians want to hold things close to their chest, right? They want to maybe, surprise you on the day when it comes to that, test event and everything, because they're also pretty competitive and probably, like most of you, just want to beat the Germans. As long as it's not a German, right? Let's make it an Italian at home.
Yeah, Germans and Austrians, no thanks. Anyone else would be great.
Yeah.
They've done a million runs down the track already, I think, at the end of last season. But no one slid there on good ice yet. It's always been on pretty warm, frosty ice. So it'd be interesting if it does get cold. We could have some different sliding on our hands.
being there in the summer, not in the winter, but is it a place, you might not know the answer to this, that is renowned for getting extra cold? Because I remember Beijing, right? There were a lot of issues around how cold it was in Beijing. So is this a place renowned for the fact that the temperature really has to worry you on certain days and it can drop to a certain level?
It has potential to be really cold, but I think we're going to be sitting around 0 to maybe -5 sort of deal, which is great for sliding. Anything below 0 to like -10 is pretty good. And honestly, they could even be like a heat wave that comes through, and we might be sliding in +15 as well. So Who knows?
That's crazy to think that.
Yeah.
I'm also doing that secretly as a selfish way of going, well, how many layers do I need to pack to make sure?
I wouldn't be packing too many, honestly. It's the Italian Alps. So
okay, all right. Well, I'll remember that. Alex, when we had you on last, we asked you a set of random get to know you style questions. They were ones that just we pulled from a different set of questions from the Canadian Olympic team when they asked their athletes. But now we've got a standardized 10. We asked this to all of our guests. So you've never had these. I'm going to bring these on to you now, and I'm going to start off with the one thing that you never leave home without when traveling to a competition. And you're not allowed to answer your sled because we realize that is pretty helpful for you when you compete.
I never leave home without man, try not to get too superstitious with these sort of things.
Don't have the lucky undies or something like that you have?
No, not really. Hey, maybe I like a certain pair of socks I like to wear.
Okay, so that counts.
Yeah.
All right, that works. Is it just feels good, or just they've done well for you in the past, or
they're fast? They're fast socks.
Fast socks. Okay, all right. that helped. That's very much helping your sport. So that counts. Do you have a traditional superstition that you follow before every big competition?
No, I really try to not get too superstitious about things. I do find myself knocking on wood a lot though. So that's probably my big superstition, I would say.
Yeah. And also I find that not having a superstition is almost a superstition in itself.
You're right. You're right.
That counts. A song that is on every one of your pre-competition playlists, no matter what.
Oh man, I don't listen to music going into competitions or anything. I like to take it all in. I find I was getting too dependent on my music when I was a junior and a few years into my senior career, and I was like, nope, let's cut that out.
That counts. That's like nature and like taking it in. That's a song in itself, right? Yeah. I like that.
That's true. Yeah, the sound of the track. There we go.
Okay. No, I like that. That's a good answer. The most unexpected or funny DM you have ever gotten as an Olympian?
Man, I don't know.
Weeds out some weirdos this question. We get some interesting answers when it comes to this. Although we recently discovered somebody met their wife through an unexpected DM. So
damn. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Unexpected DMs. I have no idea. I couldn't tell you.
Do you check them? Like, I mean, obviously you probably get a fair few around at Olympics, particularly you get 16th, a lot of people contacting you, but do you take the time to go through like the request box and the junk box just to see what people are saying, or you don't give a shit?
No, I have a look. I have a look through them. I mean, I don't really respond to many of them. But yeah, have a quick look every now and then.
Yeah. Do you still, because we've talked a few to, recently doing Sydney 25 anniversary stuff and, the days of like herograms. And I remember like you'd post stuff and obviously we're well beyond that now, but like obviously a lot of school kids will sort of do the drawings, don't they? And they send it to you and they have it up there in the Olympic Village and all those sort of things. So do you sort of, I can imagine you get some cool ones of those, keep them for a scrapbook or put them in a box somewhere to sort of look back on when you retire one day?
Oh, I just thought of the DM thing. So
there we go. I weeded that out of you basically by padding that out. Good job, Ben. Well done.
No, it was actually, it was at World Champs, actually. Okay. There was this, I don't know, he's a German, old man, German, like luge fanatic photographer person. And he was taking photos, not of me, but of my support crew during my my World Champs 5th place. Mm-hmm. And he got their reactions just like on a camera and sent me the photos. That's pretty awesome.
Wow.
There's some special photos right there. That was cool to see, like, mum, dad, sister, friend, fiance's mum. Like it was pretty special.
That's a good photographer right there. If he's that honing in, he's just waiting for the reaction. Fantastic.
Yeah, just taking photos of my support crew. That's awesome.
Smart.
That's what Olympians really want. I feel if anyone's listening, like as a photographer, take photos of the support team because that means a lot more to us than anything else.
The standard, there's going to be 50 photos of you with a fist in the air and celebrating that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
That one photo.
Someone else can get those ones.
Yeah, exactly. Great idea. I like that one. That's a good one. The weirdest thing you've ever eaten at an international competition, and did you like it?
Weirdest thing. Everything in China was pretty weird, and my stomach did not like it at all.
No.
Weirdest thing in competition.
China and Norway are the common answers for this one we find when it comes to a lot of the food.
Yeah. No, I try not to eat anything too weird around competition days. That's a good rule of thumb for most athletes, I feel.
Yeah, I think it probably, if you're eating some weird crap out there, you don't want the crap to come out during the competition. So, that's smart. Exactly. On the positive side of food, though, do you have a guilty pleasure meal that once you compete, you always go to? Like, what's your big meal that you like to go to?
In Europe, it's milk or chocolate. I'm a sucker for some chocolate. Okay. Yeah, the hazelnut, the whole hazelnut, milk or chocolate. Whew,
good answer.
Down a whole block of that in, a minute.
Do you take it with you, or is it just sort of an expectation that somebody's going to give it to you at the finish line?
No, I take it with me.
Yeah,
I'm strapped.
Yeah. Got to bring the important stuff with you, right? There you go. That makes sense.
Yeah.
If you could swap sports for a day with another Olympian, Alex, what event would you choose and how do you think you'd go? Summer and winter, by the way. You can choose summer or winter.
Okay. Oh man. I'm not a very good surfer at all. Terrible surfer. But I think being a surfer would be pretty special. It's just the opposite to luge, right? You get warm weather. You get the best break of the area to yourself for the competition, and you're surfing. It's a judged sport, so you can just kind of be free with it. I think that's my answer.
I like
surfing.
That. Yeah, surfing, good one. And then as a Queenslander, home Olympics 2032, pretty special to be able to surf in Queensland, one of the best surfing places on the planet, right? So
That's true. That's true.
I like that. I love this question because we always get a bit of help from our good friends over at ChatGPT if you struggle with this one. If your Olympic journey were a movie, what would the title be and who would play you?
I don't know.
The cool runnings of luge, basically.
yeah, maybe. Something to do with like tropical North Queensland and cool runnings.
You're a mind reader because this is what ChatGPT has also gone with as well. So,
okay.
So they give me like 10, but I chose one here because I wanted to get a mock poster drawn up. They've gone with tropical freeze, which I like. And this is one of my favorite posters they've generated. As always, our audio listeners, go to our YouTube channel to see this right now. Here we go. This is tropical freeze. You're on a luge track with kangaroos and crocodiles. And the title at the top says, From Far North Queensland to the World Stage. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it writes itself, really.
I know, right? I don't know if that position on the sled would actually help you doing well, but, ChatGPT is still learning.
Yeah, I'm not sure what I'm doing there. Kind of pushing it with my hands.
Running away from sliding from the croc, I think there. I'm actually very appreciative too. Can I just say that ChatGPT have at least attempted to put Tasmania on the map. So,
okay, very good.
They haven't forgotten that. It's actually not a bad likeness of you, to be fair.
That's pretty good.
They've got it right there. Yeah. Have you ever been compared to an actor? Has there ever been like an actor or somebody that said like, "Oh, Alex, you've got a doppelganger like this that maybe could play you"?
I've got Daniel Ricciardo a few times.
Yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He would be a good actor. He could act. Bring him across. Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah. Get him across there. Good answer. We know that a lot of the other sliding athletes love a bit of Daniel Ricciardo. We're trying to get him to see if we can get him into a sliding, Formula One sliding, get him on board. That would do some good clicks for you.
Hang out with the other sport that's timed to 1,000th of a second.
Exactly. He's not doing much right now, right? So that would work. Number 9, what is the one question you're tired of being asked, Alex, and what's the one you wish people would ask you instead?
part of being asked, how did I get into the sport?
That's why we did that 4 years ago. You were safe today.
Yeah, it's fair. I get it. But man, I've answered that question a few times.
Sucks that you've got a new broadcaster coming up for the Olympics in Australia now that Channel 7 already knew that answer. It's Channel 9 like, fuck, here we go again.
And what question would I want to know more? I like being asked how I felt at a particular moment in a competition or at an event or leading up to an event. I like to getting that sort of question.
And the mindset sort of take you back to that.
Mindset thing. Yeah. I like to know. Yeah. I think that's where it's at.
I write these down for our third interview then. So I, remember that after Milano Cortina. The big one that we always end on though, Alex, what's one lesson you've learnt from losing that you think has shaped you more than winning?
Got a lot more losing than winning. One more lesson I've learnt from losing. I mean, the obvious answer is you learn a lot more from losing than winning, just of yourself and in the sport. One more lesson.
That's a good answer. I mean, that sort of helps out there, right? Because it, pushes you more, I guess, to finding what went wrong and then improving on that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I've also found recently that not being so harsh on yourself when you lose is even better way of learning from the experience, because you don't get that stress block, right? So it's being easy with you. Yeah, just not being so hard on yourself when you lose.
Good answer. I like that. Yeah. That works. Alex, mate, it's always a pleasure to have you on the show. People follow your journey. Is it still Pink Shorts Hula? That's still the Instagram handle. Great. Are you moving into anything? TikTok? Is that on the agenda, or are we just sticking to Instagram at the moment?
We're just gonna stick to Instagram. I don't have time to make videos on
TikTok. When you got a name like Pink Shorts Hula, you just keep that anyway. I think that adds it perfectly. Exactly. But we're going to be cheering you on, mate, all the way to Italy and beyond. Best of luck for everything between now and then, and we'll get you back on for a third time, and this time with an Olympic medal around your neck.
Sounds good, mate. Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me, Ben.